Most people believe success comes from talent. Some believe it comes from intelligence. Others believe it's luck. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The people who rise fastest are rarely the smartest in the room. They're the ones who understand people. If you've ever wondered why someone with less experience gets the promotion, why certain voices are always heard, or why some people walk into a room and instantly belong, it's not magic. It's not manipulation. It's social skill. And today, I want to share 5 social skills that don't just improve your relationships, they change the trajectory of your life. Stay with me until the end, because the final skill is the one most people ignore, and it's the reason some people are trusted instantly while others struggle for years. We live in a world of connection, whether we choose to acknowledge it or not. Every opportunity, every movement, every breakthrough you admire has one thing in common: it moved through people. Not systems, not titles, not credentialed people. And yet many of us are taught to believe that if we just work hard enough, stay in our lane, keep our heads down, eventually someone will notice. Eventually the idea will speak for itself. Eventually the opportunity will arrive. But that belief quietly ignores how the real world actually works. Ideas don't spread because they're good. If that were true, the best ideas would always win. They don't. History is filled with brilliant ideas that went nowhere, not because they lacked value, but because they lacked believers. An idea without belief is just information. And belief is never created by logic alone. Belief is created through trust, and trust is built through human connection. We don't follow ideas because they make sense. We follow people because they make us feel safe, understood, and inspired. That feeling doesn't come from intelligence, it comes from social skill. Every time an idea is shared, something else is being evaluated at the same time, the person behind it. Are they credible? Are they confident? Do they care? Do they understand us? Before people say yes to what you're proposing, they subconsciously ask whether they can trust you. And that question is answered long before your idea is fully explained. It's answered in how you listen, how you speak, how you carry yourself, and how you respond under pressure. Social skills are the invisible filter through which all ideas must pass. Opportunities don't come to those who wait. That's a comforting thought, but it's not a true one. Opportunities come to those who are visible, reliable, and trusted. And trust doesn't come from being the smartest person in the room. It comes from being the most consistent human in the room. People open doors for people they feel comfortable with. They recommend people who make them look good. They invest in people who make them feel confident about the future. None of that happens by accident. It happens through repeated, everyday interactions that signal competence, empathy, and integrity. In leadership, this becomes even more obvious. Titles don't make leaders. Authority doesn't make leaders. Influence does. And influence is entirely social. You can give someone power, but you can't force people to care. You can demand compliance, but you can't demand commitment. Commitment is earned when people feel respected, heard, and valued. Leaders who lack social skills may get results in the short term, but they leave behind exhaustion, resentment, and disengagement. Leaders who understand people create environments where others want to contribute, where ideas flow freely, and where loyalty grows naturally. In business, the same rule applies. Products don't succeed simply because they're better. Companies don't grow simply because they're efficient. Brands win because people feel something when they interact with them. And that feeling always traces back to human behavior. A salesperson who understands people will outperform one who simply knows the script. An entrepreneur who can communicate vision will attract partners long before the numbers make sense. A professional who builds relationships will have options when others have none. Technical skill might get you in the door, but social skill determines how far you go once you're inside. In life, the impact is even more personal. Friendships don't form because we share the same interests. They form because we feel safe being ourselves around someone. Relationships don't last because of perfection. They last because of understanding, communication, and emotional awareness. Even conflict is shaped by social skill. Two people can disagree on the same issue, but the one who knows how to manage tone, timing, and empathy will preserve the relationship while the other destroys it. Social skills don't eliminate problems, but they determine whether problems bring people together or tear them apart. Many people dismiss social skills as something superficial, something you're either born with or not. But that belief confuses charisma with competence. Social skills are not about being loud, charming, or outgoing. They're about being intentional. They're about understanding that every interaction leaves an impression, whether you want it to or not. Silence communicates. Body language communicates. The way you respond communicates. You are always telling a story about who you are, even when you say nothing at all. The uncomfortable truth is that the future rarely belongs to the most qualified person. It belongs to the person others want to work with. It belongs to the person people trust in moments of uncertainty. When things go wrong, people don't turn to the smartest artiste sommet. They turn to the person who makes them feel steady. That steadiness is not accidental. It's built through emotional control, consistency, and awareness of others. It's built through social skill. Think about the people you admire most. Chances are it's not just what they do that impresses you. It's how they do it. How they speak when things are unclear, how they listen when someone disagrees, how they treat people when there's nothing to gain. These moments don't make headlines, but they shape reputations. And reputations are powerful. A strong reputation creates opportunities before you even ask. A weak one closes doors before you arrive. In a world that is increasingly automated, digitized, and optimized, human connection becomes more valuable, not less. Skills can be taught, information can be accessed, but trust, empathy, and influence cannot be downloaded. They must be practiced. The people who understand this don't wait for permission. They don't assume their work will speak for itself. They understand that their work needs a voice, and that voice needs to be human. At the end of the day, people don't follow ideas. Ideas don't shake hands. Ideas don't build trust. Ideas don't inspire confidence on their own. People do. And the future will always belong to those who understand how to connect, how to communicate, and how to lead through relationships rather than authority. Social skills are not a bonus. They are the foundation on which everything else stands. Most people listen with the intention to reply. Their minds are already preparing the next sentence while the other person is still speaking. They're not fully there. They're waiting for their turn. And in doing so, they miss what truly matters: a word, a pause, a change in tone, the meaning beneath the meaning. Very few people listen to understand, and that difference changes everything, because understanding is where trust begins. When you truly listen, you're not silent, you're present. Silence without presence is empty. Presence without attention is impossible. Real listening requires effort, requires humility. It means temporarily setting aside your own opinions, your own need to be right, your own desire to be impressive. It means deciding, even if only for a moment, that the person in front of you matters more than your response. And that decision is felt instantly. Being heard is one of the most basic human needs. Long before people want advice, solutions, or direction, they want acknowledgement. They want to know that what they're experiencing is real and that someone else recognizes it. When you listen deeply, you are telling someone without saying a word, you matter. And in a world where people are constantly distracted, interrupted, and overlooked, that message is rare and powerful. Influence doesn't come from speaking louder or more often. It comes from being the person others trust to listen when it matters. When people feel heard, their defenses drop, their resistance softens. They become open, not because they're persuaded, but because they feel safe. And safety is the foundation of influence. You can't lead people who don't feel safe with you. You can't inspire people who don't feel understood. The irony is that listening actually gives you more influence, not less. Many people fear that if they listen too much, they'll lose control of the conversation or appear weak. But the opposite is true. Those who listen well gain information others never hear. They understand motivations, concerns, and unspoken fears. They see the full picture while others are focused only on their own point of view. That understanding gives them clarity, and clarity gives them power. The best leaders don't dominate conversations. They don't rush to fill silence. They don't feel threatened when others speak. Instead, they create space. They ask thoughtful questions. They allow pauses. They invite perspectives that differ from their own, not because they lack confidence, but because they understand that leadership is not about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being the most trusted one. When someone feels heard by a leader, something shifts. They become more engaged, more loyal, more willing to contribute. They don't just follow instructions, they invest emotionally, and that investment can't be forced. It's earned in moments of listening that seem small but carry enormous weight. A meeting where everyone talks but no one listens drains energy. A conversation where someone feels truly heard can restore it. Listening also requires patience, and patience is increasingly rare. We live in a culture of speed, fast responses, quick opinions, instant reactions, but understanding takes time. People don't always communicate clearly. Sometimes they speak from emotion rather than logic. Sometimes what they say isn't what they mean. Listening means staying with them through that process instead of rushing to fix, correct, or dismiss. It means being comfortable with uncertainty long enough to reach clarity. There's also courage in listening. It takes courage to hear perspectives that challenge your own. It takes courage to sit with criticism without becoming defensive. It takes courage to admit you don't have all the answers. But that courage builds credibility. People respect those who can listen without needing to win. And respect is a far stronger form of influence than authority. In everyday life, listening transforms relationships. Conflicts escalate not because people disagree, because they feel unheard. Arguments become battles when both sides are fighting for validation rather than understanding. When one person chooses to truly listen, the dynamic changes. Tension lowers, voices soften, solutions become possible. Listening doesn't mean agreeing, it means acknowledging, and acknowledgement opens doors that argument never will. In professional environments, listening separates managers from leaders. A manager gives instructions. A leader listens for insight. A manager reacts to problems. A leader listens for patterns. When employees feel listened to, they bring their best ideas forward. When they don't, they retreat into silence. And silence in an organization is dangerous. It hides problems until they become crises. Listening also deepens self-awareness. When you listen without interruption, you learn not just about others, but about yourself. You notice your impulses to interrupt, to judge, to redirect the conversation back to you. You see where your ego shows up, and that awareness is the first step toward growth. You can't lead others effectively if you haven't learned to manage yourself. True listening is not passive. It's active, intentional, and engaged. It shows up in eye contact, in posture, in follow-up questions. It shows up in remembering what someone said days or weeks later. It shows up in actions that reflect what you heard. Because listening that doesn't lead to action eventually loses credibility. People notice when they're heard but not respected. Presence must be followed by consistency. The people who have the greatest influence in any room are rarely the ones doing the most talking. They are the ones others seek out when something matters. They are the ones people trust with the truth. And that trust is built one conversation at a time through the simple but powerful act of listening. In a noisy world, attention is a gift. Those who learn how to give it well will always stand out. Great communicators don't impress people. They don't walk into a room trying to prove how intelligent, experienced, or important they are. They walk in with a different goal entirely: to connect. And connection begins with a simple understanding that communication is not about you. It's about the person receiving the message. The moment communication becomes a performance, it stops being effective. The moment it becomes an act of service, it starts to matter. Many people confuse intelligence with complexity. They believe that using bigger words, longer explanations, or more technical language makes them sound credible. But clarity is not the absence of intelligence. It is evidence of it. The ability to take something complex and make it simple requires deep understanding. People don't trust what they don't understand. And when people don't trust, they don't engage. They nod politely, but they don't commit. True communication invites people in rather than pushing them away. Speaking with clarity means knowing what matters and letting go of what doesn't. It means resisting the temptation to say everything you know and instead focusing on what the other person needs to hear. It requires discipline. It requires empathy. You have to care enough about the listener to shape your message for them, not for your own ego. Because the goal isn't to sound smart. The goal is to be understood. Intention is what separates meaningful communication from noise. When you speak with intention, every word has a purpose. You're not filling space. You're not reacting impulsively. You're choosing your words carefully because you understand their impact. Intentional speakers are aware that words can build confidence or destroy it, create trust or erode it, open doors or close them. They don't speak carelessly because they understand that once words leave your mouth, you don't control how they land. Ego, on the other hand, turns communication inward. It asks, how do I look? Instead of, how do they feel? When ego leads, conversations become competitions. People talk over each other. They interrupt. They wait for their chance to speak rather than listening. And in those moments, no one feels seen. Everyone is trying to be heard, but no one is actually connecting. When you speak in a way that makes people feel seen, something powerful happens. They relax, their attention sharpens. They lean in, not physically, but emotionally. They feel recognized, not as an audience, but as individuals. That feeling is rare. And because it's rare, it's valuable. People remember how you made them feel long after they forget what you said. Being seen doesn't require flattery or agreement. It requires acknowledgement. It means naming what others are experiencing. It means reflecting back what you hear so people know you understand. It means validating emotions even when you don't share the same perspective. When people feel seen, they don't feel the need to defend themselves. And when defensiveness disappears, openness takes its place. This is why the question you ask yourself before speaking matters so much. Are you trying to sound smart or are you trying to be understood? The first serves your ego. The second serves the relationship. And relationships are where influence lives. People rarely resist ideas because the ideas are bad. They resist because they feel unseen, misunderstood, or dismissed. Change becomes possible only after connection is established. Speaking so people feel seen also requires honesty. Not bluntness disguised as truth, but honesty delivered with care. It means saying hard things without stripping others of dignity. It means choosing language that invites dialogue instead of shutting it down. Honest communication builds credibility when it's paired with respect. Without respect, honesty feels like an attack. With respect, it feels like leadership. Tone matters as much as content. You can say the right words in the wrong way and still lose people. The human brain reacts to tone before it processes logic. A calm, grounded tone signals safety. A rushed or aggressive tone signals threat. When people feel threatened, they stop listening. When they feel safe, they stay open. Great communicators understand this instinctively. They don't just think about what they're saying. They think about how it will be received. Speaking with intention also means knowing when not to speak. Silence can be powerful when it's purposeful. A pause allows others to process. It gives space for reflection. It shows confidence rather than uncertainty. People who are comfortable with silence often command more respect than those who feel the need to fill every gap. Silence, when used well, communicates trust in the moment and trust in the people around you. When people feel seen, they don't just listen, they believe. Belief is not logical, it's emotional. It's the result of feeling understood, valued, and respected. Once belief is established, people become receptive to new ideas, new directions, and even uncomfortable truths. Without belief, communication remains surface level. With belief, it becomes transformational. The most powerful communicators are not those with the loudest voices or the most impressive vocabulary. They are the ones who can stand in front of others and make each person feel like the message was meant for them. That ability doesn't come from talent alone. It comes from intention, humility, and a genuine desire to connect. And in a world full of noise, those who make people feel seen will always be heard. Your emotions aren't weaknesses. For a long time, many of us were taught the opposite. That emotions get in the way of logic, that feelings make us irrational. That strength means staying detached. But emotions are not the enemy of good decision-making. They are information. They are signals telling you what matters, what feels threatened, what feels aligned and what doesn't. When you ignore those signals, you don't become more rational, you become less aware. Every emotion carries data. Frustration points to unmet expectations. Fear highlights risk. Anger signals a boundary that feels crossed. Excitement reveals possibility. Socially skilled people don't suppress these signals, and they don't let them take control either. They observe them, they interpret them, they decide how to respond. That ability to pause between feeling and action is where emotional intelligence lives, and it is one of the most powerful skills a person can develop. Most people react. A comment is made and they fire back. A tone feels sharp and they become defensive. A situation feels uncomfortable and they withdraw or explode. Reactions are automatic. They are driven by instinct and ego. Responses, on the other hand, are intentional. They require awareness. They require choice. The difference between the two may only be a few seconds, but those seconds can determine the outcome of a conversation, a relationship. Or socially skilled people notice more than words. They notice tone. They notice body language. They notice energy. They understand that what is being said is often less important than how it's being said. A simple sentence can carry encouragement or criticism depending on tone. Silence can mean agreement, discomfort, or disengagement depending on context. Emotional intelligence is the ability to read those signals accurately and adjust accordingly. When you walk into a room, there is always a temperature. Sometimes it's calm, sometimes it's tense, sometimes it's uncertain. People with emotional intelligence sense that temperature before they say a word. They don't barge in with their agenda. They adapt, they ask questions, they choose their timing carefully. This isn't manipulation. It's respect. It's understanding that human beings are not machines and emotions are always part of the equation. Arguments often feel like battles to be won. We want to be right. We want to prove a point. We want validation. But winning an argument rarely leads to winning a relationship. You may walk away feeling justified, but the connection is weakened. Trust erodes. Walls go up. Emotional intelligence recognizes that being right is often less important than being effective. If the goal is influence, connection matters more than victory. You don't win arguments, you win relationships. Relationships are what create long-term impact. They are what allow ideas to grow, teams to function, and trust to deepen over time. When people feel attacked, they stop listening. When they feel respected, even in disagreement, they stay open. Emotional intelligence allows you to challenge ideas without attacking people. It allows you to express boundaries without hostility. It allows you to disagree without destroying trust. Controlling your emotions doesn't mean denying them. It means understanding them well enough that they don't control you. When you can name what you're feeling, you gain distance from it. That distance creates choice. You can decide whether to speak now or wait, whether to confront or clarify, whether to push forward or step back. That choice is powerful because it puts you in control of yourself, and self-control is the foundation of leadership. When you control your emotions, you also influence the emotional state of others. Emotions are contagious. Calm spreads. So does anxiety. Confidence spreads. So does anger. The person who can remain grounded when things are tense often becomes the emotional anchor for everyone else. Others look to them for cues on how to react. In that moment, without saying much at all, they control the room. This is why emotional intelligence is so closely tied to leadership. People don't follow those who panic. They follow those who remain steady. They don't trust those who explode under pressure. They trust those who can navigate difficulty with composure. Emotional intelligence doesn't mean you never feel stress or frustration. It means you don't let those feelings dictate your behavior in ways that harm others or yourself. In personal relationships, emotional intelligence creates safety. It allows people to express themselves without fear of being dismissed or attacked. It turns conflict into conversation. It transforms misunderstandings into opportunities for deeper connection. When someone feels emotionally safe with you, they are more honest, more open, and more willing to grow. That safety doesn't come from perfection. It comes from consistency and awareness. In professional environments, emotional intelligence often matters more than technical skill. Teams don't fall apart because of lack of knowledge. They fall apart because of unresolved tension, poor communication, and unmanaged emotions. The person who can navigate these moments, who can address issues without escalating them, becomes invaluable. They become the person others trust to handle difficult conversations and complex dynamics. Emotional intelligence also requires self-honesty. You can't manage what you refuse to acknowledge. If you avoid your own emotions, they will surface anyway, often at the worst possible time. Awareness doesn't weaken you. It strengthens you. It gives you the ability to act with intention instead of impulse. And over time, that intentionality builds a reputation of reliability and maturity. Control your emotions and you control your responses. Control your responses and you shape your relationships. Shape your relationships and you shape your influence. In any room, the person with the highest emotional intelligence often has the most power, not because they demand it, but because others naturally give it to them. True confidence doesn't need to prove itself. It doesn't arrive with noise or demand attention the moment it enters a room. It doesn't rush to speak or feel threatened by silence. Real confidence is calm because it isn't built on comparison. It doesn't scan the room looking for validation. It doesn't measure its worth against the reactions of others. It knows who it is, and because of that, it has nothing to defend. Calmness is often mistaken for passivity, but calm is strength under control. When someone is truly confident, Their nervous system isn't constantly on edge. They're not reacting to every comment or challenge as if it's a threat. They listen without interrupting. They pause before responding. That pause is not hesitation, it's intention. It signals self-trust, and people sense it immediately. Humility is not self-doubt, it's self-awareness. Confident people understand both their strengths and their limitations. They don't pretend to know everything, and they're not embarrassed to say, I don't know. That honesty builds credibility. Arrogance tries to cover insecurity by projecting certainty. Confidence allows room for learning because it isn't afraid of being exposed. When confidence speaks, it doesn't dominate. It doesn't overpower. It doesn't need to win every exchange. It chooses words carefully, not to impress, but to be clear. It respects the intelligence of others. It invites collaboration instead of competition. This kind of communication lowers resistance. People relax around it. They feel safe contributing, disagreeing, and offering ideas. That safety is what allows teams, relationships, and communities to grow. Standing firm without stepping on others is a rare skill. Many people believe that to be confident, you must be forceful. That strength requires volume. But force is not strength. Force is often what insecurity uses when it feels threatened. Confident people can hold their ground without raising their voice. They can assert boundaries without hostility. They can say no without guilt and yes without resentment. That balance comes from clarity, not aggression. Arrogance says, I'm better than you. It places people on a hierarchy and demands recognition. It seeks superiority because it fears equality. Arrogance needs an audience. It needs comparison to survive. Without someone to look down on, it collapses. That's why arrogant behavior often escalates in group settings. It's performative, it's loud. And while it may attract attention in the short term, it erodes trust over time. Confidence says, I don't need to compete. It understands that life is not a zero-sum game. Someone else's success does not diminish your own. Someone else's voice does not silence yours. Confident people can celebrate others without feeling smaller. They can acknowledge talent without feeling threatened. That generosity of spirit creates strong alliances. People want to work with those who uplift rather than undermine. Loudness is often confused with leadership, but volume is not vision. The loudest person in the room is not always the most capable. Sometimes they are the most anxious. They speak quickly to avoid being questioned. They interrupt to maintain control. They dominate to mask uncertainty. Over time, people learn to tune them out. Noise loses its impact when it's constant. People follow those who are secure because security is reassuring. In moments of uncertainty, people look for stability. They look for someone who isn't shaken by pressure, who doesn't overreact, who doesn't need to be the center of attention to feel relevant. Security communicates reliability. It says, you can trust me even when things get difficult. That trust is the foundation of influence. Confidence without arrogance also allows for accountability. Secure people can admit mistakes without collapsing. They don't deflect blame or make excuses. They take responsibility and move forward. That behavior builds respect far faster than pretending to be flawless. People don't expect perfection. They expect honesty. And honesty is only possible when ego is not in control. In relationships, confidence creates equality. It doesn't seek dominance or submission. It allows both people to be fully themselves. There's room for disagreement without fear. There's room for growth without judgment. Arrogance, on the other hand, creates imbalance. It demands admiration instead of partnership. Over time, that imbalance leads to resentment and distance. In leadership, confidence without arrogance empowers others. It doesn't hoard credit. It shares it. It doesn't feel threatened by strong voices or independent thinkers. It encourages them. Leaders who are secure don't need to remind people of their authority. Their presence is enough. Their consistency speaks louder than any title. Confidence is not about being fearless. It's about being comfortable with who you are, even when things are uncertain. It's about trusting yourself enough that you don't need external validation to move forward. That inner steadiness is rare, and because it's rare, it's magnetic. People are drawn to those who are at ease with themselves. When confidence replaces arrogance, conversations change. Collaboration increases. Resistance decreases. People stop posturing and start contributing. The environment becomes one where ideas can grow and people can thrive. And in that environment, influence flows naturally, not because it's demanded, but because it's deserved. Every room has a mood, whether anyone acknowledges it or not. You can feel it the moment you walk in. Sometimes it's energized and open. Sometimes it's tense and guarded. Sometimes it's distracted, unsure, or disconnected. That mood is shaped by what happened before you arrived, by the relationships in the room, by what people worried about or hoping for. And even though no one announces it out loud, everyone senses it on some level. The difference is that socially intelligent people pay attention to it. Every group has an unspoken language. It's expressed through posture, eye contact, silence, laughter, and hesitation. It shows up in who speaks first and who never speaks at all. It shows up in side glances, crossed arms leaning forward, or checking phones. This language often communicates more truth than words ever could. While many people focus only on what is being said, socially intelligent people watch what is happening. They notice who is uncomfortable. Not because that person says so, but because their body tells the story. Maybe they sit quietly when they're usually expressive. Maybe their energy shifts when a certain topic comes up. Discomfort is often a sign that something important is being avoided or misunderstood. Ignoring it doesn't make it disappear. Acknowledging it, even subtly, can change the entire dynamic of the room. They also notice who's dominating. Not every loud voice is confident, and not every quiet voice is disengaged. Sometimes dominance comes from insecurity, from a need to control the narrative or protect status. When one person takes up too much space, others shrink. Ideas go unspoken. Creativity stalls. Socially intelligent people see this happening in real time. They don't call it out aggressively. They create balance by redirecting attention, inviting others in, and slowing the pace. They notice who is disengaged. Disengagement doesn't always look like boredom. Sometimes it looks like politeness without participation. Sometimes it looks like agreement without enthusiasm. People disengage when they feel unseen, unheard, or unsafe. They may still be physically present, but mentally and emotionally, they've checked out. This is dangerous in any group because disengagement hides problems until it's too late to address them. Reading the room is not about judgment. It's about curiosity. It's about asking, even silently, what's really going on here? Socially intelligent people don't assume. They observe. They stay open. They understand that behavior is often a response to context, not a reflection of character. That understanding allows them to respond with empathy rather than frustration. Adjustment is the natural response to awareness. When you notice the mood, the energy, and the unspoken signals, you adjust your approach. Not to manipulate, not to control outcomes, but to connect more effectively. You might slow down when the room feels overwhelmed. You might simplify when confusion is present. You might pause and ask a question when tension rises. These adjustments aren't signs of weakness. They are signs of leadership. Leadership isn't about control. Control is brittle. It relies on authority and compliance. The moment pressure is applied, it cracks. Awareness, on the other hand, is flexible. It adapts. It responds. Leaders who read the room don't force their agenda when the environment isn't ready. They build alignment first. They understand that people can't hear direction until they feel understood. When leaders ignore the room, they create resistance without realizing it. They push harder when people pull back. They talk more when others need space. They interpret silence as agreement and move forward, only to be surprised by disengagement later. Awareness prevents these mistakes. It allows leaders to address issues early when they are still manageable. Reading the room also requires self-awareness. You are part of the room. Your energy affects others. Your tone sets a standard. Socially intelligent people monitor their own presence as closely as they observe others. They ask themselves how they might be contributing to the mood, not just how they're reacting to it. That responsibility creates trust because it shows maturity and accountability. In conversations, reading the room helps you choose timing. Not every message needs to be delivered immediately. Not every truth needs to be spoken in the same way. Emotional context matters. The same words can inspire or offend depending on when and how they're shared. Awareness allows you to choose the moment that creates understanding rather than conflict. In teams, reading the room fosters inclusion. It ensures that quieter voices are invited and dominant voices are balanced. It prevents groupthink by creating space for diverse perspectives. When people feel that their presence is noticed, they are more likely to contribute honestly. That honesty strengthens decision-making and builds trust over time. In personal relationships, reading the room deepens connection. It helps you notice when someone needs support rather than solutions, presence rather than advice. It helps you respond to emotions that haven't yet been named. This kind of attentiveness communicates care in a way words alone never could. Awareness is a skill, and like any skill, it improves with practice. It requires slowing down, looking up, and paying attention beyond yourself. It asks you to trade certainty for curiosity and control for connection. Those who develop this skill become anchors in uncertain environments. They bring clarity where there is confusion and calm where there is tension. And without raising their voice or asserting authority, they naturally lead because people feel understood in their presence. Trust isn't built in grand gestures. It's tempting to believe that trust is earned through big moments, dramatic promises, or bold declarations of intent. But those moments are rare, and even when they happen, they don't carry much weight on their own. Trust is built quietly in the background through small actions repeated over time. It's built when no one is watching, when there's nothing to gain, and when recognition isn't guaranteed. Consistency is the true foundation of trust. People don't trust those who are impressive once. They trust those who are reliable always. Showing up when you say you will matters. Being prepared matters. Following through matters. Each time you do what you said you would do, you make a small deposit into the trust account. Each time you don't, you make a withdrawal. And unlike money, trust is not easily replenished once it's gone. Showing up on time seems simple, almost insignificant, but it sends a powerful message. It says that you respect other people's time. It says that you value the commitment you made. Chronic lateness, on the other hand, communicates something else entirely, even if unintentionally. It suggests that your priorities come first, that others can wait. Over time, those signals accumulate and people begin to adjust their expectations, not consciously at first, but emotionally. And that adjustment changes the relationship. Keeping your word is another small moment that carries enormous weight. Words are easy to say. Promises are easy to make. What's difficult is honoring them when circumstances change, when it becomes inconvenient, or when no one would notice if you didn't. That's where trust is truly tested. People don't expect perfection, but they do expect honesty. If you can't keep your word, explaining why matters far more than pretending nothing happened. Respecting others when it's inconvenient is one of the clearest indicators of character. It's easy to be respectful when things are going well, when you're being praised, when there's nothing at stake. It's much harder when you're under pressure, when you disagree, or when you feel frustrated. Those moments reveal who you really are. People may forgive mistakes, but they rarely forget how you treated them when it was difficult. People don't remember what you promised. They remember what you did. Promises live in the future, but actions live in the present. Over time, actions form patterns, and patterns become reputations. Your reputation is not built by what you say about yourself. It's built by what others experience consistently when they interact with you. And once that reputation is established, it follows you into rooms you haven't even entered yet. Trust also grows through predictability, not in the sense of being boring, but in the sense of being dependable. When people know how you will respond, they feel safe. They know where they stand with you. Unpredictability creates anxiety. People start to second guess, to protect themselves, to hold back. Consistency, on the other hand, allows people to relax, and when people relax, they open up. That openness is where collaboration and creativity thrive. In professional environments, trust often matters more than talent. Skills can be taught, experience can be gained, but trust must be earned, and it takes time. When leaders trust you, they give you responsibility. When colleagues trust you, they share information. When clients trust you, they stay loyal. These opportunities don't come from being the most impressive person in the room. They come from being the most dependable one. Trust also requires alignment between words and behavior. When there's a gap between what someone says and what they do, people notice. They may not confront it immediately, but they adjust their expectations. Over time, that gap erodes credibility. Consistency closes that gap. It reinforces the belief that you are who you say you are, and that belief is what allows trust to deepen. In personal relationships, trust is built the same way. Small acts of care, listening when it's easier to ignore, being present when it's easier to withdraw, honoring commitments even when emotions run high. These moments may not seem dramatic, but they shape how safe people feel with you. And safety is the foundation of every strong relationship. Trust is also fragile. It can take years to build and seconds to break. That fragility is not a weakness, it's what makes trust valuable. Knowing this doesn't mean living in fear of making mistakes. It means treating commitments with seriousness. It means acknowledging missteps quickly and taking responsibility for them. Repair is possible, but only when there is humility and accountability. When trust is present, doors open naturally. People advocate for you. They recommend you. They invite you into opportunities you didn't even know existed. Not because you asked, but because they believe in you. Talent might get you noticed, but trust gets you chosen. Again and again, in the long run, trust compounds. Each small, consistent action builds on the last. Over time, the impact becomes significant, even though no single moment felt extraordinary. This is why trust is so powerful. It grows quietly, steadily, and often invisibly. But once it's there, it becomes one of the strongest forces in any relationship, team, or organization. In the end, success is not about how much you know. Knowledge is valuable, of course, but knowledge alone doesn't move mountains. Knowledge alone doesn't inspire loyalty, spark action, or create lasting influence. You can be brilliant, skilled, and capable, and still go unnoticed, unappreciated, and unsupported. The world doesn't reward information alone. It rewards connection, and connection is the bridge between knowledge and impact. Without it, ideas stagnate, opportunities slip away, and potential remains untapped. Connection is more than just being friendly or polite. It's not about shaking hands or exchanging business cards. Connection is the ability to create a bond that goes beyond surface level interactions, to engage with people in a way that makes them feel understood, valued, and seen. It's a subtle art, but it is also a strategic advantage, one that multiplies your influence far beyond what credentials, titles, or achievements ever could. People remember how you made them feel long after they forget what you said or did, because when people trust you, they support you. Trust is the currency of connection. It is earned not through grand gestures, but through consistent actions that demonstrate reliability, integrity, and empathy. When trust exists, people naturally want to help. They believe in your intentions. They invest time, energy, and resources into what you're doing. Support doesn't happen automatically. It is a response to the perception that you are someone worth investing in, someone whose success doesn't come at the expense of others, but includes them in the journey. When people support you, they advocate for you. This is where influence begins to compound. A single voice can be persuasive, but multiple voices create momentum. People who advocate for you carry your message further than you could on your own. They vouch for your character, they amplify your ideas, and they extend your reach into networks you may never have access to otherwise. Advocacy isn't transactional, it's relational. It grows organically when people feel seen, understood, and valued. And that growth is exponential because each connection has the potential to create new connections in turn. When people advocate for you, your impact multiplies. Suddenly, what seemed like a small effort becomes a movement. What once felt like a solo struggle becomes a network of support. Ideas gain traction, projects gain momentum, and opportunities appear where none existed before. Connection transforms potential into results because people are no longer passive observers, they are active participants in your journey. And that participation can change the trajectory of a career, a team, a business, or even a community. The future belongs to those who understand one simple truth: people don't buy what you do, they don't follow what you say, they commit to how you make them feel. This is a lesson that is often overlooked in a world obsessed with performance metrics, numbers, and outputs. People are not moved solely by logic, they are moved by emotion, by the sense of safety, respect, and recognition they feel in your presence, by the perception that their contribution matters, by the belief that they are valued. Connection is the mechanism through which this emotion flows, and social skills are the tools that make it possible. Understanding this truth shifts the way you approach every interaction. It transforms the way you lead, the way you communicate, and the way you influence. You stop thinking of relationships as transactions and start thinking of them as investments. You start to see every conversation, every meeting, every handshake, and every shared smile as an opportunity to build trust, to create understanding, and to deepen connection. These moments may seem small, even insignificant at times, but over weeks, months, and years, they compound into a network of loyalty, influence, and support that no amount of knowledge or skill alone can generate. Connection also requires authenticity. People can sense when interactions are forced, strategic, or manipulative. True connection is not about charm, performance, or persuasion. It is about genuine presence. It is about being fully engaged in the moment, listening without distraction, responding without ego, and caring without expectation. Authenticity fosters trust because it signals integrity. When people feel that you are sincere, they open up. They invest their attention, their energy, and their commitment. That openness creates opportunities for influence that are otherwise impossible. Social skills are the bridge to this connection. They allow you to read the room, notice the unspoken dynamics, and respond in ways that foster inclusion and understanding. They give you the ability to communicate with clarity, empathy, and intentionality. They help you manage emotions, both yours and others, so that relationships are strengthened rather than fractured. Social skills transform interactions from transactional exchanges into meaningful engagements that leave a lasting impression. When you develop these skills, you gain what few people realize is the ultimate advantage: the ability to mobilize human energy. Technology, intelligence, and resources are all powerful tools, but they cannot replace the force of aligned human action. Connection creates alignment. It turns individual effort into collective momentum. It transforms potential into tangible results. The more effectively you can connect, the greater your reach, influence, and impact become. And unlike material assets, human connection is scalable. One meaningful relationship can lead to dozens more, each adding to the cumulative effect of trust, support, and advocacy. Furthermore, connection is not limited to professional success. It enhances personal life, family dynamics, friendships, and communities. People who cultivate connection understand the subtle power of empathy, listening, and presence. They create environments where others feel safe to share, to grow, and to contribute. They build bonds that withstand conflict, stress, and change because the foundation is not convenience or obligation, it is trust and mutual respect. Ultimately, the power of social skills is in their ability to convert human relationships into influence and influence into impact. Knowledge and talent are only the beginning. They may open doors, but connection keeps them open. They may get your foot in the room, but relationships ensure you are heard, supported, and remembered. People follow those who understand them, who make them feel valued, and who invite them into something bigger than themselves. That is not accidental, it is intentional, and it is what separates those who succeed from those who struggle despite their abilities. The truth is, social skills are the multiplier of success. They turn competence into credibility, effort into influence, and presence into power. Every meaningful opportunity, every collaboration, every network effect, every act of advocacy begins with connection. The future, therefore, does not belong to the smartest, the strongest, or the most talented. It belongs to those who can make others feel understood, respected, and empowered. Those who have mastered the art of connection have discovered the ultimate advantage, the ability to turn human energy into lasting impact. That is why social skills matter more than ever, because in the end, success is not measured by what you know or what you do. It is measured by how deeply you connect.